Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
You're making multiple money in your sleep. I have 9 books. I make money in my sleep. I have rental property, all these other things. So start out with what's your skill set.
Right.
I like to call it elegant income because your skill set has to be meshed with what's out there. And number one, you have to go out there and figure out what the marketplace wants. You have to add value to the marketplace or you won't have a great business.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman Podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode.
Planning for your legacy should be empowering. That's why we've partnered with Tim Gorman, author of Tangled Legacy, Turning Estate Planning Mistakes into Successes, your essential guide to building wealth and securing your family's future. Invest in your legacy. Learn more about workshops, classes, and one-on-one coaching at dgrealtyadvisors.com. Ready to go from financial stress to financially thriving? At Money Essentials for Women, we provide coaching and resources to help you reach your biggest financial goals with ease. From early retirement and debt payoff to home ownership, career growth, and more. Learn more and set up a free consultation with one of our expert coaches at www.money-essentials.com. Hi, Dr. Sherry. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Marta. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, I am so excited to hear about your expertise. It's always very timely to talk about money, but I won't give it all away. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, I am Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson. I'm a retired CPA and former IRS agent, and I am a business strategist. So I help people keep, protect, and grow what they earn. Those that are employees that realize that they need a side business because they may be getting a pink slip. There's a lot of that going on right now all over the country. And those small businesses who feel like they're stuck, that they can't get by because they're making money, but the IRS is taking their money. So those are the two people or groups of people that I like to help.
Okay. Well, I am excited to talk more about how you help people now, but I can't walk away from the fact that you used to work for the IRS. We're going to have to talk a little bit about that, about your experience and then transitioning into your own business and helping people based on your experience. So how did you get into that? How long were you in there? How was it?
Oh gosh. So I got my CPA back in 88, I guess it was. Well, no, I got that sometime in 87. And I was working for CPA firms. That became a little stressful because there was a lot of travel involved. And it would have been different if it was travel like to New York City or LA, but they were dropping me off in places like Podunk, Mississippi and Waycross, Georgia and things like that. And it wasn't any fun. So I decided to go into corporate. I was only in corporate for about 8 months and realized that that wasn't for me. I didn't like the fact that it wasn't about what you knew. It's about who you knew and what you did with who you knew. Didn't like that. So my dad always taught me not to complain. You couldn't complain in my house. He said, if you don't like where you are right now at point A, go to point B. So I looked in the newspaper one day and there was an ad for internal revenue agent. And I read it and it looked like it only required like basic math. So I said, okay, I'm pretty good with math. And this was a job that I didn't have to work in a so-called assembly line like corporate America. I could just do my cases. And if I did great, fine. If I didn't, then I would get, in trouble with the manager. So I interviewed for the job. I got hired on the spot and worked for the IRS as an internal revenue agent for 7.5 years. So that's how I got involved in it. My father had a corporation. And when I told him I was going to work for the IRS, he looked at me and he said, "You're going to work for the enemy."
That's so funny. But it got you to where you are right now and taught you so many lessons. What were some of the biggest lessons walking away that now obviously you are implementing and helping people with? But if you can give us some tidbits or some stories.
Wow, walking away I left the IRS and then I started my own CPA firm because I was already a CPA and So with all of that experience, we have to do it on our own. We cannot expect that a job is going to carry us. One of the other things that my dad used to say is as long as you have a job, your boss is going to determine what kind of car you drive, where you live, and where you go for vacation. And I was a teenager, but I didn't understand it first, but he repeated it and I understood because if someone else is signing a paycheck for me, is that paycheck going to cover a Volkswagen Beetle or is it going to cover Mercedes Benz? Am I going to be living in a nice luxury subdivision or am I going to be living in an apartment or am I going on vacation in Florida or am I going to Malta? So I decided long ago, based on his being an entrepreneur, that I was going to be an entrepreneur. And in these days, there are so many layoffs. I mean, not to the lower income, but to the middle of six-figure people are getting laid off left and right. And it's like right now, while you still have your job, you need to go ahead and start a home-based business. And I say home-based because you don't want, an extra mortgage or an extra rent.
Right.
Just do it in your home. And when you do that, you can write off everything but the kitchen sink.
Amazing. So let's talk about some of those tax benefits, but also the pitfalls that you obviously know very much in depth working for the IRS. Tell us more about the write-offs, because I know that's something that people are super interested in and they don't fully understand. So give it to us.
So when you have your own business, Internal Revenue Code Section 162 says that you can write off all ordinary and necessary business expenses. Well, what is ordinary and necessary? There was a tax court case in 1994 where a woman named Cindy Hess wrote off a breast enlargement. And when the IRS saw that on her tax return, first of all, they couldn't get up off the floor from laughing, and they took the breast enlargement deduction away. So Cindy wanted to fight it. She went to tax court. And guess what? The tax court granted her deduction for her breast enlargement because Cindy Hess, better known as Chesty Love, was a pole dancer. And she was getting older and she needed to enhance herself to keep up with the younger girls. That was considered ordinary and necessary. So ordinary and necessary is common, acceptable, appropriate for your particular business. So if Cindy Hess, better known as Chesty Love, can write off a breast enlargement, nobody should be scared to write off their legitimate business expenses and their home-based business. We're talking about supplies. We're talking about let's say your business use of home. You can literally write off a portion of your home, the room that you use in any storage area as a percentage of your home. Things that employees can't write off, like the cell phone. You can write off a percentage of your cell phone, your computer, your internet, all these things that everyday people are using that they can't write off as an employee, they can write off as a business owner.
Oh my gosh. And that story, that is the best.
Yeah, it is.
So good. Well, and it's a great example. If it's related to your work, then you can absolutely use that. What are some of the pitfalls? And something else that I wanted to ask is what are the advantages or what do you recommend in terms of a small business hiring someone to help them with the taxes versus doing it themselves?
Okay, so first, the biggest pitfall that I saw as an internal revenue agent and now as a consultant, people don't keep their records. And the IRS goes after the low-hanging fruit. Say that they do go after the small businesses as opposed to the corporations. You got to think about it, Marta. The corporations have CPAs and attorneys that are going to fight for them. But mom and pop, they're innocent, they love their business, and they don't necessarily keep up with records well. And they're the ones that unfortunately get slammed with the larger taxes because they didn't keep up with these records. So that's the biggest pitfall. And transitioning over to your next question about hiring somebody to do the taxes versus doing them yourself. Now, first of all, let me say, when I was an IRS agent, those who used H&R Block and those kind of companies that got audited a lot because they know those people hire people at the end of the year, and train them for about 3 months and then stick them out there on you. And when you're giving them the records, they're just putting in to a computer and popping it back out to you. They're not digging deep like I used to, asking them questions. Did you do this? And did you do this? Did you have this expense? Oh yeah, I had that. So that's what happens. You don't necessarily have to hire somebody, a lot of times a CPA is not trained to do taxes. All they do is take that information, put it in, and spit it back out. I had so many clients. I only had to advertise 1 year because I was considered the deduction queen. I would dig it out of you. You know, you can't get blood out of a turnip, and I would make my people into a turnip because they would get all of their deductions. So doing that,
Mm.
if you have a small tax return and you're just starting out, yeah, try to do it yourself. There are programs online. My favorite one is FreeTaxUSA, and it's at freetaxusa.com. They do the federal tax return free. And the state tax return is usually $15. But if you live in Texas or Florida or a state that doesn't have state income taxes, you get your whole return done free. And every year it remembers the information from the year before. And it's the best program that I have seen out there. So doing that. But when you get to the point where you're growing or you have some complicated situations, you've got rental properties, plus you've got a business and other streams of income, then you may need to go to someone that is experienced in that, not just any CPA, but a CPA that actually knows taxes and does ask you questions as opposed to just inputting your information and shooting out a tax return.
Right, because every situation is so unique. So basically, keep your records and choose wisely who you're going to be working with, especially if your situation is not super straightforward. You have other streams of income, like you said, or there's more people that you're responsible for and things like that, or there's mixed incomes, right, in the household. Sometimes a partner has a job and etc. So got to keep all of that into consideration. Now, let's talk about income and making the income, keeping the income. So you already talked to us about the write-offs. That's one way for you to keep what you're making. What are some other nuggets that you have for business owners so that they're not giving it all away in taxes?
Yes, it's about what you keep. It's not just about what you make. And so keeping it entails you, first of all, practicing delayed gratification. And when you start a business and it starts to grow and you start making money, don't go out and buy the Mercedes Benz.
Oh, geez.
Start putting some of that money aside for your debt and put some of that money into put it back into the business and put some of it in savings. That's what I see people do, unfortunately. Earning your money, growing your money, diversify the business. Make sure you have multiple streams of income. You can do multiple things. If you start a business, that's fine. Keep that going, even if you keep your full-time job. Most of my clients have full-time jobs. When they get off, however, they come home and they decompress for about an hour, play with their family, spend time with their family, children, and then they go into their home-based business. They do not spend time in front of the electronic income reducer or the electronic intellect reducer that I call the television or the video games. We don't have time for that. So
Yeah.
my mentor says, if you're not making $10,000 a month, you don't need to be watching TV at all. So I recommend that people be serious about having that extra income. It's not going to just come to you.
Yeah.
Make money faster than you spend it.
Oh my gosh, so many nuggets, but I love the intellect reducer.
Yes, the electronic
That's so
intellect
true.
reducer. That's what the television is. You're making somebody else rich if you're sitting there, watching television, and the women are watching the soap operas and the men are watching the football games until Tom Brady starts stroking me a check. My team is the Jackson team.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, and I love in the beginning when you said that what your dad said, as long as you have a job, somebody's choosing what car you drive. Somebody's choosing, whatever it is that you buy. So go and start your home-based business, especially because we talked about the write-offs. For somebody, the majority of my listeners are entrepreneurs, already have started something, but I know that there are people out there that are still considering it and don't really know how to get started. I've talked to so many women that are like, I would love to, but I just have no idea. What is your piece of advice, since you are, and I love that, if you're not making $10,000 a month, then shouldn't be watching TV. That's
Exactly.
so good.
Exactly.
I love
And I
it.
know it's convicting, but we need a swift kick a lot of times to get us out of this comfort zone.
Yes.
When you're in people tell me, oh, I'm doing okay under the circumstances. Well, circumstances, you're standing in a circle looking out, watching other people. Circum is a circle. You're standing in a circle, circumstances. Don't be in the circumstances. Get out of the circumstances. This is what I do with my clients. They come in and they say, Sherry, I want a business. That's whether they're an employee or whether they just don't have anything going on and they want a business. First of all, we figure out the best business for them.
Okay.
Everything's not good. I had one lady come in and say, "Oh, I do quilting. I love quilting. I can do." I said, "Sweetheart, that can stay a hobby because Walmart and Target have quilts. You will not make any money like that. So we want to make sure that it's something that you enjoy. If you have a full-time job, you don't need to be coming home and saying, "Oh, I don't feel
Yeah.
like doing this." We need something that excites you.
Right.
We need something that's going to make some money. I like online businesses, so I try to steer them to more of the online because that's when you can make money in your sleep.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburke.com/podcast guest for more information.
And then you have multiple online businesses. You're making multiple money in your sleep. I have 9 books. I make money in my sleep. I have rental property, all these other things. So start out with what's your skill set.
Right.
I like to call it elegant income because your skill set has to be meshed with what's out there. And number one, you have to go out there and figure out what the marketplace wants.
Mm-hmm.
You have to add value to the marketplace or you won't have a great business.
Mm-hmm. That's some great starting points. Now, I know there's lots of conversation when we're talking about, go out there, make it work. Don't just expect things to happen. Then we have the counter conversation of burnout, right? Well, you just said, I work a full-time job. I'm going to go home and then I got to work this other business. And then am I going to be living for working? When am I going to enjoy my life? What do you got to say to those people?
Work smarter, not harder. You have a full-time job, you're working 8-10 hours. You may not be able to spend as much time working on the home-based business, but that's when I tell them to create something exciting, create something that's not going to take a lot of time. If it's something that's going to be hands-on, you're going to be having to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And especially if you have children, that's not going to work out. Think of something that you can create one time and sell over and over and over. For example, one of my favorite stories about a client is a young woman. She had a hard life. She was in an orphanage and she had to work through a lot of things. But as an adult, she said, "I need to write a book because I need other people to see that they can overcome." Well, we worked together and she got her book out and she sent me the book. It was such a hard read because it was just so depressing, the things that she had to go through, but she got her book out there. So I help people, since I have 9 books, I help people write books also.
Awesome.
It's something that she did one time and it may have taken her, it could have taken a year, but that book is going to sell as long as she gets it out there. So creating a business like online, even getting a YouTube channel. I know people that make $40,000 a month on YouTube.
Yeah.
All they do is they get on there and they talk about things that they want to talk about, things that they're experts in. So the burnout part won't appear if you're doing something, number one, that you love, or at least that you like, because 86% of people that have jobs don't like their jobs.
Right.
So at least something that you like and something that won't take up a lot of time. Creating courses online. These are just different things that I've told clients over the years. I have a husband and wife couple that have gotten my year-long package. He's starting a business, she's starting a business, and she's writing 2 books.
That's amazing. What are so you have 9 books. Are they all available on Amazon? Tell us more.
They are not. They're on my website.
Okay.
One of the things about Amazon is that although you might get more sales, they take a lot of the money,
Right.
and you don't get the gold. That person that's buying your book, you don't get their email and their name. So that, let's say if I'm going to do a presentation live in Dallas, there's thousands of people that bought my book when I had it on Amazon between like 2016 and 2023. I'll never know where those people are. I'll never know them. So it was more important for me to get my books on my own website, and I have a little Shopify site. Nice. So that you can get the information from the people, and I'll have a group of people and I'll say, okay, I'm going to Dallas. How many people on my personal mailing list are in Dallas? Let them know that I'm coming.
That's wonderful. Well, people have to check out your website, which will give them all the information. I did want to ask about something else when you mentioned, as you start growing and you start making money, don't go off and buy the Mercedes. Delayed gratification. That's what's going to help you keep the money that you're making, right? Especially as you start making more. How can people manage clearing off debt, like building this financial freedom? We talked about the burnout, managing a tight budget. There's so many things that come into play, especially as you're growing a business. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes. So I created a system called the KPG system.
Hmm.
Keep what you earn, protect what you earn, and grow what you earn.
Hmm.
I hit rock bottom and started to dig. People can look at my story. If they go out there online, they'll see that I actually had a big battle with my former employer and I had to start over. So I started, first of all, thinking about what do I have in my head that I can use?
Hmm.
Use what you have to first create income. Then you're keeping it. You're making sure, first of all, that you don't go into any more debt. And if you're in debt, that you're getting rid of it. Simple things. Like right now, we're at the Christmas holidays. Do not go out there and buy a whole bunch of gifts for your relatives on credit cards. And then those bills start hitting in January and February and you can't handle it. Get them Christmas cards.
Mhm.
Don't go to the grocery store hungry because every time I do, I spend at least $20 more. So
Right?
simple things that will decrease your expenses.
Mhm.
Get rid of the cable TV. Buy clothes at thrift stores. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And when you're in debt, like I was
Mm.
back when I was younger, especially,
Yeah.
I came up with creative ways to get out of that. I could go to the thrift store and buy designer suits that were in there for $12
Right.
because, somebody gave them up. I took some time to make sure that I liked the stuff. I wasn't looking for designer stuff. I looked for things that looked nice and nobody had to know they came from the thrift store. We have to do these things to decrease our expenses. And how to eliminate debt, what you do is I used what's called the snowball method.
Mm.
And when I was married and younger, between the two of us, we had 13 credit cards, but I got rid of them within a year and a half because I would pay off the smallest one, cut it up in four pieces, throw it in the garage and dance on it, and then take that money to go to the next one that was the higher. Some people go the avalanche way, they go the highest one first.
Uh-huh.
But you get more motivation when you pay off that lowest one first and they say, I got the $500 one paid. Let's work on the $800 one. So
Yeah.
you get out of that way. And you just need one card. You don't need all those cards. I
Right.
was young and dumb. Just
Mhm.
and use that card sparingly. Right now, I use my American Express to pay for everything because I get all these points for Delta Airlines. And so I'll say, okay, I've got this bill. I'll put the money on American Express, then I'll pay the bill. And then all of these points add up. These are just different ways that you can use to make sure that you're getting out of debt and at the same time that you're getting a benefit from it.
Yes, those are very smart tips. I love it. And you do have a video that people can watch, a free resource to learn more. Tell us more.
Yeah, I did a video and I call it my evolution to revolution, but it's at keepprotectgrow.com. That's keepprotectgrow.com. And it's a little bit more about me. I was speaking at an event in Acapulco,
Ooh.
Mexico, and, basically giving them some tips on different things. And my books are out on my Shopify site or on my website. And my flagship book is How to Stick It to the IRS, Confessions from a Former Insider.
Ooh.
One of my other books that's popular is How to Escape the Rat Race, 4 Keys to Acquire the Life of Your Dreams. And literally, I know we don't have time to get into my story, but like I said, I had to hit rock bottom. So I started over, got back to six figures within a period of time, within a year of implementing the KPG system. And now I have rental property. I have property internationally. So, I go back and forth to Costa Rica. I have a home in Costa Rica. You can do this from nothing, as long as you have the desire to do it, and as long as you have something in your head. You all have value to add to the marketplace. Everybody has value to add to the marketplace. They just need to figure out what that value is. And that's what I help my clients do.
That is so encouraging. People need to listen to this episode every time they're feeling discouraged. Like, I can't make it work. Yes, you can. And go look at your website and check out your books. I love those titles. So you mentioned having a year-long package. How do you usually work with clients? If anyone listening is like, I want to have a talk with Dr. Sherry and see if she can help me, how can they go about it?
I have a variety of clients, a variety of packages for different types of clients. For example, my smallest package is 1 hour. And it's like, these are people who kind of have their self together. They just have some questions. And then I have a 3 hour package, which would require me to answer their questions by doing some research. Then we go up. I have a 3 month package. 6-month package, 9-month package, and a year. They're spending time with me. These are the people that I'm an employee and I want a business, or I'm a small business owner and I'm just drowning in debt, or the IRS is bothering me. So I handhold these people. I do sometimes have Zoom boot camps and things, but people are not going to open up and say, I haven't filed tax returns in 5 years. They're not going to do that in a boot camp. So I'm kind of more so the person that holds your hand. I like the concept of client versus customer. Customer is somebody that's going to buy my book on my website and I'll never make them. A client, I feel like I have a fiduciary duty to produce results for them.
Yeah.
So I call myself a business strategist, and my dad taught me how to think strategically. And I put myself in everybody's shoes and figure out what I would do to make their business work, to start it or to grow it. So that's how I work with clients. And a lot of them say, I have clients that have signed up for 6 months and they just repeat. I want to keep going. I have one longstanding business owner that's been with me for at least 3 years. And the other ones, they just renew because they need that extra input. If you're not taught to be a strategic thinker, then you need somebody behind you. So I'm that business coach, that consultant, and I'm going to give you a swift kick if you try to disappear and you get off track. I will not let you off track, because I want to say I helped Sarah. Sarah was a woman that was in New York. She was working for one of the major networks. She has 2 daughters. One has special needs, and her mother was living with her. She hated the job. She was being harassed on the job. Sarah got with me, and she started 2 businesses. One was online and one wasn't, but she was able after a while to quit that stressful job, stay home with her daughters, and produce.
That is wonderful. I know you have amazing stories, and that's why people need to go to your website and check out your book. Before I ask you to say how people can connect with you, I would love to ask you my $1 million question, which is my final question. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Dr. Sherry, what is an empowered woman then?
Okay, when I think about that, this is what I do. I think about myself. What is an empowered woman? I feel like I'm an empowered woman. I know who I am. And I'm not ashamed of who I am. I know who I am. I'm confident, yet I'm humble. I'm a strategic thinker, yet I'm compassionate. And I exude feminine power, not strength, but feminine power. So that's an empowered woman to me.
That's beautiful. I love asking this question because all the answers are different, but they are all amazing. And they're a reflection of your life experience and your wisdom, right? So that is beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. How can people connect with you? Tell us your website. Also, if you hang out in a specific platform on social media.
So my website is sherrypeeljackson.com, and that's Sherry spelled the old-fashioned way, like the wine, Sherry. They have so many different ways to spell it now. So Sherry Peel, Peel, like orange peel, potato peel, all that stuff that they used to call me in elementary school, because that's my maiden name. So sherrypeeljackson.com is my website, and you can connect with me at connect@sherrypeeljackson.com. And my platform that I use all the time is YouTube. So I have a YouTube channel, and it's Sherry Peel Jackson. And I concentrate on helping people escape the rat race. So we talk about anything to do with finances that you need to know about, and things that are going to help you. So I go live on Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And in between there, I put videos out, about whatever's current, like the breaking news about the Currency Transaction Act and all these other things that are going on. I'll put that out there. So YouTube is my favorite. My little marketing team is forming, and we're going to start. I just started a TikTok. I was so scared to do that. So I just started that, and I'm on Instagram also, and I'm on Facebook, but I mostly focus on YouTube.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll make sure and have all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for having me, Marta.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends, or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.